I have a very reasonable suspicion that he was just using the baby as tiny human shield until the very end. Hi, I'm Devin. So, Game Season 3, you watched it, right? And you probably got to the end and thought to yourself, what in the actual hell just happened? Don't you worry, you are not alone. So tonight, I'm gonna be your guide and your therapist. We are gonna break down the gallery of lunatics that made this season the beautiful disaster that is. And what is crazy is, as nuts as these characters are, they feel kinda real. So buckle up, make sure you subscribe because it's about to get weird. Number 456, Song Gi-hun. So let's start with our hero, Gi-hun. And I use the term hero very loosely because I'm pretty sure if you look at the all-time list of movie villains, it's like number 3. It goes Thanos, Voldemort, and then the schmuck from Netflix show. No one in movie history could have killed almost 1,000 people. So Jun-hee's baby, literal toddler, won Squid Game 3 not because she was skilled or lucky or even ruthless. It's just because Gi-hun, the guy who beat 455 people to win before, chose to die for her. Across the 3 seasons, Gi-hun becomes the undisputed god of mass murderers with a staggering body count of 911 people for this baby. I mean, just look at his resume from season 1. What are his actual skills? Let's see. Tricking on sweet old man who probably has dementia, getting literally carried across the finish line by Ali. Yeah, my favorite part. Winning the whole thing because of his childhood friend felt so profoundly sorry for him. He thought this guy is pathetic that he committed suicide by himself. That's our champion, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't we have been better off with the big gangster guy Deok-soo? At least he was strong. It does make sense. Or Sang-ho, the smart guy from the fancy university. At least he could do long division. At least he studied. He did something in his life.
씨발. 김은영!
Gi-hun is a guy who, after watching someone die right next to him, and he's like, I have lactose intolerance. So can I get different beverage? That's who we are rooting for. So he gets 45.6 billion won after getting 455 people killed. You would think he'd maybe lie low, go to therapy? No, he develops a messiah complex. You know, that kid at the arcade back in the day couldn't pass a single class but was decent at Tekken. 한국말로 하면 철권 or Mario. Walked around like he was the king of the neighborhood. That is Gi-hun. He completely deludes himself, abandons his own daughter, and comes back to end the game. And the hair. Can you talk about the hair? He's almost 50. He dyes his hair fire engine red. Is he auditioning for a K-pop group? Like he's fighting for the Taehyung's place in BTS? So in the moment, we all thought it was some deep symbolic choice. Nope. He was just rich and decided to go to salon and flex. And hair dye is expensive in Korea, okay? That is billionaire move right there. So naturally, we are all thinking, okay, this guy is gonna tear the whole system down. But what does he actually do? He comes back and gets another 455 people killed. Let's do the math. If you add the guards from the pathetic little coup, we are easily at 1,000 bodies. 1,000! What a monster. After his coup fails, he blames some other poor guy, Kang Dae-ho, and gets him killed. The man is walking natural disaster. The recruiter, 딱지맨. Which brings me to the saddest person, the recruiter. I mean, the handsome guy in the suit played by Gong. And I say sad because this guy was so perfect. I mean, the only perfect one in this entire series. Like, annoyingly perfect. He's an elite in his organization, tall, handsome, great at his job, always polite, an incredible fighter, and he's fair, and even he's good at 딱지. The best part is, you know what this incredibly busy man does on his day off? Charity work. I'm not kidding. He's out there and giving lottery tickets and bread to the homeless. He's basically Captain Korea. And how does this perfect human being die? He loses a game of chance to Gi-hun. Are you kidding me? That's not a death. That's a cosmic insert. He should have challenged him to a taekwondo match. He wouldn't have wiped the floor with him. And get this, the 딱지 guy told Gi-hun the phone number of frontman was in his pocket. Gi-hun had to do was say, okay, cool, I'll just take the number, thanks. And then stop the Russian roulette. No, this clueless idiot had to bet on his main character, plot armor, and now this beautiful, promising young man is gone. He will live on our hearts forever. R.I.P. Rest in peace. Number 390, Park Jung-bae. You know that old saying, choose your friend wisely? It's just a nice way of saying, listen to your mother. This guy, Jeong-bae, hung out with Gi-hun his whole life and clearly learned nothing. I promise you, his mom spent 20 years telling him, honey, stay away from the Song Gi-hun kid. He's bad news. And it's not like he didn't know. He lost his money with Gi-hun at the racetrack in season 1, but he comes back and joins his stupid coup anyway and dies. In this moment, I think he deserves to die. I mean, he should be stared in horror movie. He might be the first one to die. So seriously, listen to your mom, people. If she doesn't like your friend, there's probably a very good reason. The show says he and his wife divorced over money, but seeing how he blindly follows his deadbeat friend to his death, I'm guessing money wasn't their only problem. So number 388. Okay, Kang Dae-ho. Okay, let's be real for a second. What did Dae-ho actually do wrong? He lied about being a Marine. So what? He was scared. It's a death game, and lying is one of the strategy. And the guy even shoot a gun straight. At least he was self-aware. He knew his limits. And for anyone who doesn't know, every guy in Korea has to do about a year and a half in the military. It's our thing. So basically, every dude you see walking down the street of Korea is an elite warrior. And to all the troops out there, thank you for your service. Truly deep in my heart. Which makes me wonder, did Gi-hun even go to military? Can you imagine being foxhole with him? I think I'd feel safer being roommates with Detective Conan. At least with him, the body count is kept at 1 per episode, right? Honestly, looking back, wouldn't it have been better for everyone if the old man Illam, Oillam, had just one season 1? I mean, let the old man do whatever he wants. He's gonna be dying. And the commander, oh, this guy. Can someone please tell me what his job is? Seriously? Besides sipping expensive whiskey, smoking cigarettes indoors at work, what does he do? What is this guy's salary? Is this just part of employee benefits package? You get a 401k and unlimited supply of top shelf scotch? And he is not even paying VIP. He cannot even manage his own staff. His guys are running a black market organ, harvesting ring right under his nose. And this guy is just staring into his drink, completely clueless. The fact that this man got this job tells you everything. This isn't some evil, spectre-like organization. It's a giant, poorly run welfare agency for delinquents who couldn't get a job anywhere else. It's basically a free Las Vegas resort for slackers. And all we know about him is that he's a kidney collector. What is that? For his daughter? Does he think if he collects enough kidneys, he can build her a new one? Like their Legos? He's not eating them, right? Is he? And what is even funnier is this guy is a total pushover to his subordinates. He just agrees to whatever they want. And there's that whole confusing thing where he likes to the soldier girl, I thought you understood me. And the girl says, no. He was like, not just because we are from North Korea together. What does that even mean? I'm starting to think he was just a lonely single dad trying to get a date. Download Tinder, Hinge. Download Tinder, man. And this guy who does nothing all day forgets he left his gun in an elevator 5 minutes ago? How is he alive? Who promoted him this place? And the VIPs paying big money to come to the place? Where this guy in charge of security? Unbelievable. And by the way, the actor who plays him in Korea, this guy is really famous for his good acting skills. But this guy's entire career is basically getting beaten up by women. Look up My Name on Netflix. Killed by a woman. Before that, a movie called The Witch. He was killed by a woman too. So let me advise, don't believe in women. Your love fortune is not good. It's his brand. It's hilarious. Number 246, Park Young-seok, the artist. And then there's the painter, the artist. So this man survives little death game, and his brilliant plan is to go back to his old job at the exact same amusement park, doing exact same thing. You know, he actually got out of the Squid Game without money, and he was chased. So, dude, move, change your name, go off the grid, anything, please. And he joined because of his daughter was sick. And here's the point. You remember he joined because his daughter was sick, right? But he got out without money, but she looks completely fine 6 months after. And he's the one who got shot in the gut, left for dead for a day, maybe 2. He should have massive internal bleeding or something, right? He should be the one in the hospital. But here's the best part. The daughter's illness, it wasn't even about money. She just gets better on her own. She was cured by nature. So why did you go to the death game, man? She could be an orphan. And it looks like he never even called the police. This guy never seemed to have real money problems. Was he just a single dad who was lonely and thought this was a board game club? A running club, maybe? Please, man, download dating apps. At least go on a blind date. And here's the point. Have you seen his drawings? Let me tell you. There is a reason this guy's broke. If he needs money, he should be doing food delivery, not drawing. The delivery apps in Korea are fantastic. We don't have DoorDash here. We have better ones. The pay is decent because Korea delivery apps delivers 24 hours per a day. Korea never sleeps. Even the girl who rescued him takes one look at the finished portrait and she's like, you know what? I'm good, thanks. She saw that drawing and knew he was the lost cause. Number 222, Kim Jun-hee. Okay, listen. We are sleeping on Jun-hee. We are underestimating her. This woman gave birth for the first time in her life in 5 minutes. 5 minutes, people. Just because a nice old lady cheered her on. I've had sneezes that have lasted longer than that. Like, for example, if we go to bathroom, it takes normally more than 5 minutes. And you're telling me a woman with that kind of superhuman stamina is going to fail at jump rope because of a sprained ankle? Please. They have a medical team that can magically produce a baby bottle out of thin air. Where did that even come from? They said it was the first baby ever born there. Kupang is Korean Amazon. Kupang same-day delivery doesn't reach this murder island, okay? If they can get a bottle, they can get ankle brace. She could have done it. The soccer star Son Heung-min played with a broken ankle, won Europa League. In fact, jump rope was probably her best games. Suicide makes no sense. With her strength, if she got into a fight with her boyfriend, he'd be the one getting beat up. And let's be real. Number 333, Myung-gi kind of deserve it. Jun-hee was the only woman to make it to final stage. There's a reason for that. And Gi-hun, in that moment, he says he's coming, right? To get her and the baby. And does he? No. Why? Because he's a coward. He's only talking man. All he got is just talk. That is our returning champion. The man is our talk. I have a very reasonable suspicion that he was just using the baby as tiny human shield until the very end. Jun-hee should have won. Jun-hee should have known this. And her debt was only like 30 grand. That's not join a death game debt. That was if you don't have that thing in your credit score, and then if you get a job, like even a part-time job, that could be the bank would give you that amount of money. Detective Hwang Jun-ho, now my favorite member, our biggest disaster, Detective Hwang Jun-ho. Okay, after I have seen all of this, I finally get why this guy from the first got demoted to the traffic cop. This man has zero detective skills. His brilliant plan is to team up with a sea captain who just screams, "I am a bad guy" in his face and his clothes. A child could tell you to stay away from him, right? I mean, look at the captain, Park. He's so suspicious. He's so fishy. But our detective seems legit. He gets up on a boat with this guy at a night in the middle of the ocean. And this guy would have died trying to bust the group or high schoolers smoking behind 7-Eleven. The only reason he's alive is just because his big brother, the frontman, told everyone to keep him that way. I mean, it just proves the old lesson. It really, really helps to have powerful relatives. And get this, it took a random loan shark 2 days, only 2 days, to find out what our detective couldn't figure out in years, that Captain Park is a fishy person. But does he listen to the loan shark? No, he ignores the evidence and trusts his gut, which tells him the obviously evil sea captain is his savior. The result? Every single person who helped him dies. The poor Jung-jae. And the one guy who survived went to prison. And here's the funny part. As a cop, he didn't even testify that the guy was helping him with an investigation. Can you believe this guy? He gets his entire team killed or thrown in jail. So what did this public servant do all season? He used investigation as an excuse to go on a taxpayer-funded fishing and scuba diving trip. In Korea, we have a variety show called The Urban Fisherman, which is in Korean, 도시어부, where old guys go fishing on boats. That was him. That was his whole job. You know who has the same hobby? My 70-year-old dad. This is his retirement dream. And let's be honest, Detective Hwang, let's be honest. You just didn't want to go to work, right? We hate going to work, man. And you couldn't find this island for years. Korea isn't that big. And the show says they have running water and electricity, right? Just check the utility bills. If Elon Musk ever goes back to running Doge, this guy is the first one getting fired. I am personally furious that my tax money paid for this guy's scuba lessons. What happens all this incompetence and any other movie? He'd be fired, right? In Squid Game? Nope. Detective Hwang, after enjoying a lovely season of marine sports, ends up getting the 45.6 billion won without playing a single game. I bet he probably went surfing and parasailing off screen too. And with the money, he could buy his own boat. It just goes to show you, it pays to have a brother in a high place. Now the frontman comes. And finally, let's get to the man in charge, the frontman. Now this guy is definitely capable. He won the game himself. His combat skills are insane. He's an elite, a graduate of the police university, which is very hard to get in, but he got fired for taking bribes. He speaks great English, feels very sophisticated. He's the exact opposite of Gi-hun. But what happens after the game ends? You cannot teach old dog new tricks. The frontman takes 45.6 billion won prize money, wraps it up in a blanket with the winning baby, and gives it to his brother. Isn't this just very creative mix of kidnapping and embezzlement? This is why they say you cannot change people. If the old man Ilham saw this from the afterlife, if Ilham's ghost is seeing this, he would be so mad. It would just prove his whole point that you cannot trust anyone. And the frontman himself is already rich. He won the games years before, like before pandemic. And you know what that means? Stocks were cheap back then. If he had just invested that money in Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, or apartment in Gangnam, he'd be mega billionaire. This guy shouldn't be an employee at Squid Game. He should be a VIP. He's way too rich to be working there. Warren Buffett is probably in his contacts. He should be at Davos, but that's not enough for him. He has to get his brother another 45.6 billion. What is this if not a family crime ring? And based on what his brother said about him cutting off the contact, it's pretty clear he didn't share any of his original prize money. Now you have two brothers, both ex-cops, each with 45.6 billion won fortune. This whole family is corrupt. Why are they so greedy? It's like when you enter a contest and after all your own entries and you start using your little brother's name. You know, looking at all this, it's clear. Gong-hoo's character was the best person in the whole show. Such a promising life, gone to waste. The director says he might do a spin-off about the frontman's past. I cannot wait to see what other frustratingly complex character he comes up with. But please, just bring Gong-hoo back. We cannot let go of the recruiter. He's the only one in this whole mess who was actually earning his paycheck. We will have more Squid Game analysis next time. If there is anything else you want me to break down, leave a comment below. Peace out!